A law professor has a message for millennials. Think, don't feel. Here's part of a speech he delivered to a lesson to his students. I must first teach you how to rid yourself of unreason. For many of you have not yet been educated. You have been diseducated, to put it bluntly. You have been indoctrinated to be direct. Associate professor at Faulkner Law, Adam McLeod, joins us right now. He's also a contributor at New Boston Post. So, Professor, what brought you to this moment?
Well, thanks for having me on this morning. I teach Foundations of Law course at Faulkner, which is a course where we examine the big ideas about law. What is it? Do we have an obligation to obey it? Those sorts of questions. And I've found over the last couple of years that students increasingly were resistant to the wisdom in some of the particularly older texts that we read, like the Trial of Socrates and John Locke's treatises on government and so forth. So the essay is 2 parts provocative and hopefully 1 part humorous. The provocation seems to work because here we are talking about it.
So, Adam, I noticed, too, you don't use the term snowflake, you don't use the term millennial. You just want to look at them as students. And you also put some ground rules in place. Here's one. If you use an ISM, ism, or ist, you cannot continue speaking. What do you mean?
Well, what I'm reacting to there is the use of labels like racism or materialism or other labels that really foreclose thought. So labels can be helpful in classroom conversations if we know what we're talking about. What I object to is the use of labels to end the conversation and to avoid thinking critically about important questions.
So if they say Adam or Professor, that's racist thought. The whole world stops, and so does thought. And you say, that's not what we're doing here. We got to open up your minds. You also say, if you use words fair, diversity, or equality, you must explain that you understand the meaning to be able to use it. So have you had people throw that out and stop a class in its tracks as well?
Yeah, I mean, with racist or equal or diverse, I'm open to hearing why it is that, if you can make an argument, right? So equality, for example, important American founding principle. It's in our Declaration of Independence. The students read it in the Gettysburg Address and in the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution. But it's a contested idea. Are we talking about formal equality? Are we talking about equality of opportunity? Are we talking about equality of result? And these are interesting and controversial questions that I don't want the students to miss. My whole objective here is to get them to think critically about these questions, to develop an appetite for the truth, and to really learn how to pursue the truth on their own. And so I don't want them to fall back on labels as a crutch or as a way of avoiding what really should be a tremendous opportunity to think alongside great thinkers about really interesting things.
Yeah, stop being offended. Meanwhile, if you begin a statement with I feel, cluck like a chicken.
Yeah, that was my little microaggression against cows and sheep. I'm expecting a call from the Equal Barnyard Employment Commission any day now. No, I mean, the serious point there is that I'm training lawyers here, and lawyers make arguments. Arguments consist of propositions and facts, or in other words, reasons. And reasons don't always care about how we feel about them. Reasons are what they are. So if you're going to be a competent lawyer, often you actually need to set aside your feelings. And it's not that feelings aren't important, but we really need our first instinct to be to reach for reasoned arguments.
Professor, in the era of safe spaces and timeouts, what did you hear from maybe your supervisors or deans about your philosophy?
Oh, my administration and my colleagues are very supportive. I understand there was some grumbling among the students, which is, I suppose, to be expected. I've never aspired to be the popular professor anyway. I mean, after all, I teach texts that were written hundreds of years before Prince Harry was a twinkle in the Prince of Wales' eye. So I'm not necessarily hip or with it. What I really want my students to do is aspire to learn and to seek truth. And the students, by the end of the semester, were really succeeding, really reaching for reasons, understanding the texts. And on that measure, I think this semester was a success.
You're getting them ready for the real world and their real profession. And for us, you're very popular, Adam, so don't worry about it. You are the cool guy. Thanks so much, Professor.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.